Right, it's a very good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us on Time with the Captains. It is our monthly mentorship program right here on TV2, where students interact with the Captain of the Month on bothering on businesses and entrepreneurship. My name is Nanekia Mensah Brampa. Tonight, standing in for your regular host, Alfredo Kansi, who is also on an equally important assignment. So tonight, we're interacting with students from Zenith University College, as well as young entrepreneurs who will be interacting with our Captain of the Month right here. Remember that you can stay interactive with us on Facebook and Twitter. We're trending live. It's TV3 Ghana right there on Facebook. I'm sure you can give another round of applause for us. Yes. Right, so the studio is already charged with the students. Questions will be flowing, answers will be coming. Keep your questions also coming in there on Twitter and on Facebook. Remember, it's TV3 Ghana. We're taking a breather. When we return, you'll know the Captain of the Month. Stay with us.
Yeah, couldn't say it's a baby or even any party baby. We free, we call Abu Dhabi. We are Matthias does that, so Makojare.
Win a trip to Dubai. Simply download my Vodafone app, click on Yenia Grow, play, and win every day.
What an assessor.
All right, so you're welcome back from that short breather there. It is time with the captains. And tonight, talking about our captain for the month, we're talking about the managing director of Heritage Bank Limited. He is in the person of Patrick Fishin, and we'll be taking a short profile of him. He's seated right here next to me. And, let's look at his educational background tonight. And he holds an MBA in Banking and Finance from the Manchester Business School, UK, and a bachelor's degree in Computer Science from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He's also a chartered accountant. Prior to his role at the Heritage Bank, he worked with EcoBank Transnational Incorporated from March 2011, where he held the positions of Group Head Operations and Technology Services, as well as Group Head Internal Control. Prior to this role, also, he worked in EcoBank Transnational Incorporated, March 2011, where he held the positions of Group Head Operations and Services, Group Head Internal Control. Right, so good to have you here, Mr. Fishin. You are Captain of the Month, and we are grateful having you here.
Thank you for the invitation.
So, these are the students from Zenith University College. I understand we also have GIJ students here. GIJ, are you here? Thank you so much. We appreciate, and as well as young entrepreneurs. Grateful for your time tonight on Time with the Captains. Now, when I look through your profile, I see computer science, but I don't see the link there, computer science and accountancy. What happened? Why that swift change there?
Okay, thank you. Now, I must start by saying that your first degree must not necessarily lead you to your future career. At the undergraduate level, you're basically being taught how to think and research. Okay. And in most organizations, you realize that when you come out of school, you'll be given training specific to the role that you expected to play. So usually, you don't find a direct correlation between your first degree and then the role you play out in the industry. You find that most organizations, when they take on management trainees, take on persons from a variety of backgrounds. So you don't expect to see that kind of link. But in my case, I read computer science, yes, because I was a science student. But in your journey through life, you must always be scanning the environment for opportunities. And you need to reinvent yourself. So in my case, during our time, in the late 80s, being a chartered accountant was the in thing. though difficult, it's indicated that, well, if you could qualify as a chartered accountant, you were basically set up for life. So that was how come I migrated from computer science into accountancy. Of course, back then, the computer science industry was not particularly well developed in Ghana. Most of my colleagues who came out, who stayed with the field, just ended up as database administrators. The only institutions that you could basically work in were places like Statistical Service, Controller and Accountants General Department, and I think the Electoral Commission. Okay. And that didn't really offer much variety in terms of opportunities. So I thought it wasn't really a wise step to remain with the computer science profession. So that's why I shifted to accountancy.
I'm sure you started preparing your questions there. Shortly, a microphone will be going around. You mention your name and where you're coming from as an institution, and then you throw your question to Mr. Fisher. But let me just finally find out from you, the journey so far. I see you've been to some number of banks. Is it one or before Heritage Bank? How has the journey been for you so far in accountancy, delving into the banking sector?
Okay, so right after school, in my bid to train to be an accountant, I joined Coopers and Lybrand, which is now your PricewaterhouseCoopers. Okay, I stayed in there for 9 years. And in response to changes in the environment, I thought it was important to move on in life and then to see what the outer world
has to offer.
What opportunities existed in there. So, of course, banking, as it was then, was a very attractive industry to start my exploration. So to ease myself gently into the banking field, I leveraged on my experience as an auditor to join Standard Chartered Bank as head of group audit for West Africa. And then through that process, I ended up in operations and technology, running a shared service center for Standard Chartered Bank, and then ended up in South Africa. That's running operations and technology for Standard Chartered Bank South Africa. Came back into the country after my contract ended. Went to run finance, technology, operations, and strategy for Unibank. After a while, there was this other opportunity with EcoBank, which I thought was a fabulous one, which was to run operations and technology services for the whole group, which basically covers 36 countries. I did that for a while and then moved into the internal control function, once again as group head, covering the whole group. And then, of course, there was this opportunity to start up a new bank. Yes, so I thought it was time to get back home. And then, secondly, my kids were growing, getting ready to go to the university. So I thought it was a good time to spend a bit of time with them.
Money. I can see the money is running through there. But I'm sure you have your questions prepared. Who is ready with the first set of questions? Do we have anyone? Okay, so please, where's the microphone? Right, so pass it to him, your name, your institution, and then we throw your question to Mr. Fisher.
Okay, good evening, sir. I'm now
Hello.
From University College. Hello?
I think it's better now.
Yeah, I'm now College Jones from Zenith University College. My first question, good evening, sir. My first question is there a difference between being an entrepreneur and then running a business? Thank you.
Okay, that's your first question. Can we have another question? Can we pass the microphone? Okay, there's a microphone there. Your name, your question, like your school.
Hello. Okay, good evening. My name is Fauzi Masood from Ghana Institute of Journalism. My question has to do with the whom you know mantra. I would like to, whom you know mantra. Yes, a lot of people have ideas, laudable ones for that matter, but then they feel they don't know anyone. So they, in a way, die with these ideas. So I would like to find out from you, did you have to know someone to take a step?
Okay, so we'll just take the answers from you and we'll go for the next set of questions.
Okay.
So the very first one has to do with the difference between entrepreneurship and starting a business, I'm sure.
Oh, and running a business, if I heard it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, there are some similarities, but the fundamental difference will be that running a business would imply that someone has set up a business and you've been invited to run the operations or basically to help the business achieve its business strategy. But with the entrepreneur, one of the magic is that you start out with an idea, and then based on the idea, you may have a one-man operation, or you could, through the process of forming your business, end up working with other persons. But I think the key difference is that the entrepreneur germinates the idea and then creates a business organization to, in a sense, carry the dream to its fruition. Okay. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, and the next question has to do with the whom you know mantra.
That's a tricky one. I have changed so many jobs in my career, but yes, most of the roles have been through references. But it wasn't so much a question of knowing someone in the organization and being picked up. It was more a case of achieving early success. And then based on your track record, you find persons not related to you specifically, recommending you for roles. Okay. So in some instances, you have references coming from persons you don't know from Adam. And really, who you know can only take you so far, because in most instances, even if you have a relationship with someone, there's still an interview to attend. So I would say that who you know is not necessarily the key to success. The key to success is building a track record of hard work, diligence, and achievement. Because typically, for you students, when you come out of school, a lot of allowance will be made for you that, well, probably you've just started work, you don't have much of experience. So in your early interviews, you'll find that lots of you will be invited for interviews. And then through the screening process, you would be selected. But 3-4 years down the line, when you attend an interview, now the question will be, what have you done with yourself since you left school? What value have you tried to add to yourself? What have you done in pursuit of your stated business objectives or professional objectives? So if your objectives, for example, is to be a professional accountant, right after school, nobody will really ask you what you've done. But 3-4 years down the line, you must demonstrate that in your aspiration to be a professional accountant, you have probably started some professional exams, you are attending some classes, etc. So in that regard, who you know is not really going to help you, because no matter how well you're connected, there are certain basic criteria that you must be able to meet.
Okay. All right, so let's go for the next question there. There's a gentleman behind. He's had his hands up for quite some time now. Okay.
Please, my name is David Kwanson, and from 10 Ghana. My question is, how would a young business person manage money and then emotions? For instance, when you start your business and it starts to flourish, you start making money, how would you manage the money that comes to you and your emotions? And then how would you also try to, is money the only thing to motivate your team members, or there's another way? I mean, how would you manage your team members to rally behind you? Because along the way, you realize some will be falling back. How would you bring them all along as you move on? Thank you.
Okay, David. Mr. Fisher.
Okay, so I see your question is in two parts.
Yes.
Firstly, how will you manage your business as you make money? And then secondly, how do you motivate your fellow employees? Now, what I want to share with you is that most people who make money from business do not really set out to make money. They set out to solve problems. And the money usually comes in as a byproduct. So when you look around, like persons who develop computers, etc., they didn't set out with the aim of making money. But as the business developed and then they provided solutions to problems, they end up making money in the process. Persons who come up through that route are usually not distracted by the money that they make, because at the end of the day, you're out to solve a problem. So if you remain true to your vision and your cause, the fact that you've made money along the line should not really be much of a distraction. And having said that, if you are so grounded and so focused on providing solutions, you realize that you have the temperament to handle money when it comes through. But if you don't have that focus, what then tends to happen is that you are easily distracted, because it will be like someone moving without a core set of values or without an overriding objective. Now, with regards to motivating colleagues, we have different aspirations in life. So the important thing is to try to identify what aspirations your colleagues hold, and then you try to align your organization's goals with the person's personal objectives. So, and in management, we call that goal congruence, because the only way you can get someone to move in a certain direction, if that direction runs true to the person's goals in life. So, as a leader, your key task is to try to understand what makes your colleagues tick, what their goals are, what their fears are, what their aspirations are. And then you try to see how best you can marry that with the goals of the organization. Sometimes it may mean repositioning people to fall in the same direction so that the people will be able to achieve their dreams. So you may have someone working in operations, but who has an aspiration to be a salesperson. So by repositioning the person into sales, you'll be able to align the persons to the organization's goal of generating revenue. But if you put the person in the wrong position because you don't have insight into the person's aspirations, then you'll find a misalignment between yourselves and then the person. So the key is to really align individual goals with that of the organization.
Okay, so in case you just tuned in, you're watching Time with the Captains tonight, and I am moderating, sitting in for your regular host, Alfred Okansi. We're joined here by students from Zenith University College, as well as Ghana Institute of Journalism, and some young entrepreneurs. The Q&A session is on, and my guest for tonight is Mr. Patrick Fishin, who is the Managing Director of Heritage Bank Limited. So we have some more questions, I'm sure. Why? So who has the microphone? And okay, to the gentleman.
Okay, my name is Beneza Fire from GIJ. My question is, I want to know which particular year he started his career, and also what are the key principles that kept him in because you know a lot of people talking about going in with some determination and all that. We want to know what are some of the key principles that held him on. And also, I want to know about how he was able to combine his business with his personal life. That's marriage. Yeah.
Okay. That's deep. Okay, so I'm sure you'd want to answer that.
Yeah, that's an interesting
I know.
question. Yeah. Well, I completed Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in the year 1988. This is some way back. Yes.
Who was born by then?
Yes. So after my national service, I started my career with Coopers and Libran. Now, in terms of principles that have helped me in my career, have helped me in achieving my dreams, I think there are a few I can share with you which I believe have general applicability. But I think the first is to have a deep-seated desire to succeed. Because whichever path you decide to proceed on is fraught with challenges, disappointments, setbacks, etc. So if your desire to succeed is not strong enough, at the first sign of trouble, you're going to see yourself backing off. And then, secondly, desire is not enough. You need to look at the mirror and be true to yourself and be sure that whichever path that you want to tread on, you need to be sure you have the talent for that. Because you can sit here and aspire to be a professional footballer and play in the Premier League in the UK. But the question is, are you talented enough? But we're also told that talent is not enough. You need a lot of hard work. When you look at successful sports persons like Serena Williams, Rafa Nadal, I mean, some of these top athletes that you see out there, Tiger Woods, etc., their talent was spotted very on in their lives. But beyond the talent, there had to be a lot of hard work. When you read the book by Malcolm Gladwell, The Outliers, one of the chapters has this 10,000 hour rule, which says that to be successful at any venture or any activity, you should have practiced for at least 10,000 hours. Okay. So, in my case, well, I had a great love of reading, and I was fairly good at figures. But before deciding to become an accountant, I had a brush with accountancy during my computer science program, and I realized it was something I was fairly good at. But it wasn't enough to just jump in with your 2 feet. You needed to understand what it entailed. Because back in our time, there were persons who wrote these exams for like 20 years without qualifying. It's much easier now. Okay. So you need to understand the cost, what it's going to take, the sort of sacrifice you need to make to be able to achieve your enterprise. And then secondly, you need to understand the rules of engagement. Because if you want to be a professional in any field, you need to understand the code of ethics, the principles by which you're supposed to live your life. So in broad terms, I would say that what helped me to move forward in my career was a deep-seated desire to succeed, having the relevant skills for my chosen path, and then also being willing to work hard. Because whichever way you look at it, whichever field you try to go through, you need to work incredibly hard to succeed. I hope that answers your question.
I'm sure you left one out. He asked how you balance that with marriage. That's what got everyone interested in you answering that question.
Well, fortunately, I qualified as a chartered accountant before I got married. In fact, I qualified just before my marriage. So I didn't have to face the challenge of most of the professional students out there that's in trying to. Of course, I did an MBA later on, but when I was married. But that wasn't as stressful as trying to qualify as a professional accountant. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure he deserves a round of applause for that. Okay, so you would want to keep your questions coming in on our Facebook page. It's TV3 Ghana. Just keep the questions coming, and we would read it to the students here as well as the rest of it. Well, I have Patrick Kwenu here who says that I am enjoying the program, and I would want to monitor for a while before I ask my questions. Well, Patrick, we'll be taking a breather soon so that you send your questions in. Makafui Jejom says, I'm not really getting the message too well, but it says, Mr. Fishen, it's good to have you in the studio, and I'm enjoying the session with the students tonight. Well, so keep those comments coming in on our Facebook page. It's TV3 Ghana. You can also do same for Twitter, TV3 Ghana. We will be taking a breather here. We'll return. We have the students here. Their questions are still pending, and Mr. Fishen has all the answers for them. Stay with us. It's time with the captains. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back from that breather there, and I must say I have a wonderful audience here, and the place is really on fire, talking about questions and answers. And once again, I would want to remind you that we have students from Zenith University College, Ghana Institute of Journalism, as well as some young entrepreneurs. And remember that Time with the Captains is a monthly business mentorship program where we have our Captain of the Month interacting with students. And tonight our captain is none other than the Managing Director of Heritage Bank Limited, Mr. Patrick Fishen. Well, so the students are ready, and I'm sure the set of questions are also ready. Who has the microphone for the next question? Right. Your name and where you're coming from, and then you shoot.
Good evening. My name is Richard Abeta, a student of the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Please, I've always heard successful business women and men say you don't necessarily need capital to start a business, and that sometimes you can partner with someone to help you carry on with that plan. But the fear is, isn't it a suicidal path to take sometimes? Because it's not everyone that is a good person. Some end up stealing your idea because they have the money, they go to carry on such business plan. What should you do at that point if, because of this fear, and you don't have the resource to start? What should you do at this point? Thank you.
Okay. I think I'll expand my answer beyond your question, because you come from the perspective that you have a good business idea, but you're looking for capital, but you are afraid that a potential investor will run along with your idea. Yes. Now, a lot of businesses fail to get off the ground because we don't really count the cost of what is going to really take. I mean, it's not everyone who is cut out to be an entrepreneur. So like I said earlier, you need to really take a reality check and ask the question whether you're really cut out to be an entrepreneur. And then, if you have an idea which is good enough, you always find an investor. There are persons called angel investors who have, I mean, there's always a lot of money out there looking for ideas to, in a sense, deploy their capital through. There may be a few bad investors out there, but there are various safeguards that you can put in place. And some countries, you have the patents office, where if you have an invention or some good idea, you can go and register so that nobody steals your idea. So what I would want to say to you is that there are a lot of business advisors out there. Normally, you start with an idea, you need to prepare a business plan. On the basis of the business plan, then you can go looking for financing. And indeed, most people who come into the bank for financial assistance, they'll come, what they do is to come with their business plan, they ask for a loan, we'll talk about that later, but after assessing your business idea, if the bank believes that there is some merit, some potential in your idea, finance will be provided to you. Now, what then tends to happen is that maybe you'll be asked to provide some collateral. I've seen so many instances of persons who are able to bring third-party collaterals to secure facilities. So even if you don't have the collateral that the banks will be looking for, if your idea is good enough and you have a good enough business plan, you can always find the financing, and you'll always find someone who will be able to provide that third-party collateral, of course, for a share in the profits.
Well, I would want to follow up on that. You raised the issue of loans. I would want to pick your thoughts on loans giving out with regards to interest rates. We have the policy rates coming down, but this is not reflecting on the loans we take from the banks. Mr. Fishin, I want your thoughts on that.
Okay. We need to take a step back and go to first principles. We need to ascertain what goes into the determination of interest rates charged by the banks. Okay. So first of all, a key component of the interest rate charged by the bank is the cost of raising funds, the cost of the banks borrowing from customers and from the markets. So that's one element. Now, beyond the cost, whatever interest rate you charge must also help you to recover a part of your overheads. So all the investments you see banks making in build infrastructure, systems, people, etc., need to be recovered from the loans that we give out. So that's where you have your overheads.
Oh, okay.
And then, thirdly, you need to also add some risk premium to compensate you for the possibility of you losing the monies that you're going to give out. So the interest rates that we charge have these three key components: the cost of funding, the overheads, and then the risk premium. Now, the risk premium you charge is normally a reflection of your view of the likelihood of your customer defaulting. In most countries, The ideal non-performing loan ratio, you expect to hover around 3%. If you have an industry where the non-performing loans is around 10%, it is said that the banking industry is in crisis. In the case of Ghana, our NPL ratio is 20%. So, roughly, what we're saying is that for every 100 cedis you give out, you are likely to lose 20 cedis. And that has to go into your pricing. Now, when government determines the policy rate, it's just a reflection of the rate at which governments will be willing to borrow from the banks. Okay.
Okay.
So that indirectly influences, what your customers will be charging you. But it's not as if there's a direct correlation. In the fullness of time, you expect some level of impact. Okay. Because if I can borrow from the government, say at 24%, and then a customer walks in and tells me that, oh, I'll give you funds at 20%. It makes sense. Yeah. If I can borrow from government at 20%, it means the customer will also have to come further down. So in the fullness of time, there is some correlation between the policy rate and the cost of funds. But the cost of funds is not the only element. Like I said, there's overheads to worry about, and then the risk premium you need to charge for the probability of your loan going bad.
Okay, I'm sure it will answer someone's question here, but who has the next question for us? I'll pick a lady. I'm picking a lady. In fact, for the next 3 questions, I'm picking ladies. So the ladies, let me see your hands. Okay. Your name, your institution, and then your question.
Okay. I'm Kopia Estawepia from the Ghana Institute of Journalism. My question is it advisable for a young entrepreneur to involve his or her immediate family in his or her business? What are the risks involved? And especially when the money starts trickling in, if the person is misbehaving, you don't know if you're supposed to fire or to maintain just because the person is family.
Okay, so family and business, Mr. Fishin, is it advisable?
There are pros and cons to having family members involved in your business. It could well be that you have a particular skill which will be complemented by another family member. So maybe you want to run a restaurant and you have a sister who is a caterer. Of course, it will make sense to go into some kind of business relationship. Now, the problem comes in where you don't have clearly defined rules for your engagement, whether be it a partnership or limited liability company. And, running a business is not like running a charity. There are certain business principles that you must apply. So the question you need to ask yourself is that, emotionally, are you strong enough to apply these business principles dispassionately, whether or not your family members are involved? So, for example, sitting in a bank, taking care of the shareholders' money, I should be strong enough to turn down loan requests from my relatives insofar as they don't meet the credit risk criteria of my bank. So, you must only involve your family members in the business if, one, they have skills complementary to yours and there's value that they can add. But secondly, you must also be sure that you can apply whatever policies you have in your business, even to your family members, dispassionately. But as a rule of thumb, it's not a route I will advise. In fact, usually when it comes to money matters, it's best to keep your family separate from your business, because history has shown that that route is replete with challenges.
Okay, so the next lady with the next question. Okay, you have the microphone.
Okay, I'm Felicia Kwatin from GIJ. My question is, as a young entrepreneur, a lot of business ideas trip through your mind. A lot of ideas flow through your mind on different businesses. How will you be able to identify the right idea to choose from so that you will start your business? Thank you.
Okay, so basically you're looking at selection criteria for filtering your business ideas. Now, within the short time available to us, I'll try to problem you seek to solve. Because you cannot have an idea if it doesn't really solve any problem out there. And then secondly, whatever it is that you want to do, you need to ask yourself how attractive that market is, or that industry is, or that segment is. Because every industry, which is very easy to enter, is very difficult to succeed in. So, for example, if you decide to sell provisions on the tabletop, there are practically no barriers of entry to that industry. If you set up a table here, tomorrow another competitor can set up right next to you. So you realize that in that kind of industry, the margins tend to be very poor. So unattractive industries typically have poor margins. And then secondly, you need to ask yourself the question whether a market exists. So if you are sitting in the middle of nowhere and you have a product which needs people, say for example, you decide to sell cooked food. If you go to probably, let's say, Trasaco, and you go and set up your table in front of Trasaco, you may not enjoy much patronage. So whatever idea you have, you need to ask yourself whether there is already enough market for your idea. Okay? And then also, you need to ask yourself whether what skills are required. Because in some industries, say you decide to become a barber, the success of your venture is dependent on you as an individual. So it becomes a bit difficult to replicate the service you are offering. So if in a day you can only serve 10 customers, at the initial, your business is restricted to those 10 customers. But on the other hand, if it's a product that can be replicated through a system, as in I'm selling papaya. Papaya is not linked to an individual. So they were able to have outlets scattered all over Accra, and then the production takes place from a central location. So basically, when you have a business idea, there are various factors that you need to match your idea against to determine whether it's something that will be worth your while or not. Which is why I made the point that this calls for a much wider discussion. But the key thing you need to remember is how attractive that business is. So if your idea is to sell maybe pie and minerals, everybody can do that. So you need to find a unique need. Maybe there's a school with a lot of school children. You look out there, break time, there's no food for them to eat. You can align yourself to that.
But there are situations where sometimes you would find your markets, your niche. Let's say if you have, you're into shoes or you're into accessories, you produce, not on a large scale because you're a small enterprise, but getting the people to purchase your items is somewhat a challenge sometimes. How do you go about it?
So we're turning the issue back in the
other way around.
The other way around.
Right.
Because I've always said that successful businessmen provide solutions to problems. So if you provide a solution without having identified the problem, then that's a recipe for failure. So before you set out to produce the shoes, you must identify a need. It could be that in that locality, the people are not really into wearing shoes. Okay. So to answer your question, you need to start from whether there's a need for shoes, or whether it's sandals that people need, or whether it's Charlie, what do the people need?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would take another lady as I promised. You have the microphone. Forgive me. Let's speak.
My name is Aretha Forson, and I'm from Ghana Institute of Journalism. The poverty level in Ghana is devastating, but students or the youth today have amazing ideas that could change business today, but they do not have funds. So if a student, if a youth, if an ordinary person approaches the bank, approaches you as an entrepreneur and asks, okay, I have this plan, how do I go about it? But I do not have money. Probably I have it all sorted out. How do the bank or how as you as an entrepreneur help these people?
Yeah, I think this question was asked in a different form earlier.
Yeah,
but like I said earlier, it all comes down to, first of all, developing a business plan. And there are professionals who can help you with that. Because it's not every idea which has business potential. So the process of developing a business plan will help you determine the merits or otherwise of the plan we're looking at. And remember, most people who come to the bank for loans, they come because they need financing for their businesses. And indeed, some of them are even startups. So the key is to demonstrate the business potential of your idea, and then you come to us, and we will be willing to assist. Having said that, I mean, for us as Heritage Bank, we say we are an indigenous bank with a focus of small to medium scale enterprises and local corporates. So you find us dealing with customers in places like Abosokai, Swami, I mean areas of intense commercial activity. And most of the customers out there are not your everyday big customers. So we have positioned ourselves to come out with structured products to address the unique needs of our customers. So whatever your needs are, please come to us. We'll find someone to provide you with some guidance.
I think you're sorted. You should see him after this. Okay, I'll pick a gentleman now. I'm coming to this side. The gentleman in blue, I'll call you. You'll be my last person, don't worry. Please give him a microphone for me. He's had his hands up for a while. Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm sorry, good
evening.
It's okay.
Okay, let's go on.
You've traveled far and wide. What are the main problems facing African entrepreneur? And that is one. And as a bank person that I've been so far, how people that you've borrowed money for business, what's the response of them not paying back those loans? Like most of them, like you give people money. Like what's one of the main reasons that they couldn't pay back those loans? That's true. And secondly, the idea of African producing a particular product and not being purchased back from the African identity. What do you feel that we can solve that problem, the way we can solve this problem, apart from the government policy? Because I think it's psychological stuff.
Okay, we didn't get your name and your institution.
I did do more like this, Soji Martins.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so if you can help me out with, by repeating the question.
Okay, so he was asking, you asked how people are able to pay back.
No, I explain.
And why they can't pay back the loan.
Reasons why they can't pay back loans. Okay.
Now, there are several reasons. You know, when you develop your business plan, you develop your plan with a certain expectation of economic trends. You make assumptions about the number of customers you're going to have. You maybe also extending credit to other people, make all kinds of assumptions about supplies, etc. Now, sometimes you have people running into business problems because of changes in the environment. Okay? So when that happens, the person's ability to repay the facility is compromised. Okay? So maybe you borrow money from the bank to start a farm, and then your farm produce is not as at the level that you would have expected. Or surely that will create difficulties for you. So adverse economic conditions is one. And then sometimes you also have a case of financial indiscipline. You know, for a number of individuals, when they sell and the sales proceeds come through, they see all of that as profit and then start spending. Whereas it's just a portion of that really belongs to you. Okay. And then also, Sometimes it's also lack of financial management. You've borrowed monies from the bank that you're supposed to repay over a 6 months period. Then you go and build a warehouse, which requires a different kind of financing, which requires probably long-term funding. So you find there's a mismatch between what the period over which you have to repay the facility and then the investment period for your warehouse. So sometimes you have that kind of mismatch. And just like we have individuals who are recalcitrant debtors, we also have companies where people pick up loans and deliberately take a view that they are not going to pay. For various reasons. Because they know that the banks every year would have to write off some portion of the portfolio and all that. So they believe that by giving the banks a tough time, after a while, we'll give up and then, but that's not to one's credit.
Okay. I'm sure you have other questions, but we will do that on the informal session. We are almost behind time. So I'll give Mr. Fishin some 30 seconds to give a tip or an advice to the students here who are gathered today.
Okay. There's a saying by Avli Toffler that the illiterates of the future are people who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Most of what you learn in school now will become obsolete a few years after you leave school. And to be able to remain relevant and take opportunities in your environment, you must be constantly learning new skills, obtaining new knowledge. That is the only way in which you can survive in a new economic paradigm that we currently have. So my final word to you will be that learning must be a lifelong activity. The day you stop learning is the day you die. Thank you.
The day you stop learning is the day you die. I'm sure you will give a round of applause for that. Mr. Fisher, we're so grateful for your time. This is just the formal session. Afterwards, we'll have an informal session where you can throw more questions to Mr. Fisher, as well as have photo opportunities with him. And we have some souvenirs also from Heritage Bank. You would want to, again, give them a round of applause for that. You have been a wonderful audience tonight, and I must say we are so grateful to Mr. Patrick Fisher, who is the Managing Director of Heritage Bank Limited. We're so grateful. Good to have you here as our Captain of the Month.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, so that will do for tonight. My name is Nanikia Mensah-Brampa, and to you students from GIJ Zenith University College, as well as the young entrepreneurs who joined us tonight, we are so grateful for your time. Let's look forward to the next month, the third month of our captains. But for us here, we are done. My name is Nanikia Mensah-Brampa. We have News 360 shortly. Stay with us and have a good evening.